So welcome to anyone just joining. I'm gonna wait maybe a few more minutes until like 11:03, 11:05, if that's okay, just to see if anyone else joins. Bit of background, I'm a law student who's been with the ICJ campaign since like roughly 2019 or so. This isn't legal advice because I'm not a barred attorney, just for general information. Yeah, I'll just like talk through a brief introduction in case anyone else joins. Yeah, I wrote a piece for The Nation, which is like a progressive magazine based in the US, recently on the campaign, specifically the youth campaign to bring climate change to the International Court of Justice, the world's highest court, which is parallel to the ICC, the criminal court in The Hague. So essentially, we're seeking an advisory opinion on climate change and human rights, which is passed. So the resolution seeking an advisory opinion was passed actually by consensus in the General Assembly, which is very historic. To my knowledge and the knowledge of other people on the campaign, there's never been an AO requested by consensus before. So it really illustrates just the kind of shifting global consensus on climate change. Let me see if I can show screen. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen, which is I was going to play just this very short explainer video, basically talking. So this was made by Pacific Island students fighting climate change, who've been really the major force behind the campaign for a number of years now. They just made this explainer video like a couple of years ago, just to sort of clarify some of the issues involved with the campaign.
Every year of the last decade, our world has seen greenhouse gas emissions continue to rise and shatter records. But those responsible for burning the most fossil fuels have not experienced the most direct consequences of climate change. It has been us. The hundreds of millions of people living on the front line of the climate crisis. If global temperatures rise above 1.5 degrees Celsius in my lifetime, countries like mine will vanish beneath the waves. I will be forced to leave the land where my ancestors are buried, and to tell my children they have nowhere to call home. At Rio de Janeiro, Kyoto, and later at Paris, we were promised action. But despite ever more opportunities to address this crisis, the planet is hurtling towards climate catastrophe. Existing international agreements have not provided countries with legal clarity on their responsibilities to reduce emissions, leading to inaction. To break the impasse, the UN General Assembly must request an advisory opinion from the International Court of Justice on climate change and human rights. All it would take is a simple majority vote from UN member states. An advisory opinion is not legally binding, but carries great legal and moral authority, encouraging all nations to protect the human rights of people affected by climate change. An opinion from the highest court in the world would also help to build a critical global coalition uniting governments and international institutions, and would define exactly what existing bodies and laws nations should follow. In the past, advisory opinions have been instrumental in establishing international laws on the right to self-determination, the prevention of genocide, and nuclear disarmament. We believe it could do the same for climate change. Planet in crisis doesn't have to be our future. If there is power in the world to save humanity from environmental disaster, it is the power of the people. The time is running out, and we have to act now. Please visit our website to join us.
It's great to see so many people here on what is a pretty bleak January evening. But it's great you've come along, and it's great we've got so many people online as well for a special event.
Yeah, sorry, just took me a second to close the video. So that's a very kind of brief explainer of how the campaign works. Welcome to new people who've joined as well. So that video you can find, it's on YouTube. It's called The Power of the People, Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. I can put their acronym in the chat. They've really been the driving force behind this campaign. And I've heard from like a number of other diplomats in the UN system that really South Pacific island nations are seen as really like a moral center in the climate change debate because sea level rise is so existential for many countries around the world, but especially for countries in the South Pacific. And so the youth campaign historically has been really focused on getting the request for the AO through the General Assembly, which again was very successful earlier this spring. And now we've shifted focus a little bit. So there's a legal handbook on the website listed at the end of that video, World's Youth for Climate Justice. And a number of the law students on the campaign have been kind of shifting into what are we looking for in submissions to the court. So this is, again, because this is an environmental law working group, it is a little more focused on law and legal advocacy, but historically, this is a campaign that has seen a lot of civil society support, a lot of support from younger students, and there really is a place for everyone. So even if you haven't historically been involved in the campaign, we are, I mean, there is a lot of push and a lot of momentum now for countries to have like really strong human rights statements in their submissions to the court. That's something that I know a lot of people are hoping to see. There is a lot of debate. You can actually watch on UNWeb TV the recording of the vote itself and the floor statements. I was actually in the General Assembly like with my job for that whole day, and I watched all the floor statements after the vote. They're like 5 hours, so don't feel obligated to watch all 5 hours unless you really want to. But it's a very interesting campaign. It raises a lot of very live issues around obligations, specifically human rights obligations of states in the climate crisis. And I think it'll be really interesting to watch as it develops. Again, for people who are joining, I'm not intending this as legal advice since I'm a law. I just recently graduated law school like a few days ago. I'm not a barred attorney yet. So this is really purely for general informational purposes and kind of my own perspective on the campaign. But yeah, I just think it's my one takeaway, and I know that we like to keep these sessions brief, is that it really illustrates the power of the youth climate movement and the power of young people to make change at very high levels in the UN system. And that's something that we've seen historically throughout the campaign, from the UN Youth Climate Summit to youth organizing around these other major climate summits. This is an illustration of governments really listening to the voice of the youth. So I hope that's encouraging to some people on this call, even if you feel like you're being marginalized, like you're not really being heard in the climate environmental space. The UN is increasingly listening to the voices of young people. So if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute or just put that in the chat. Again, I'm a very junior law student, so I'm not like higher diplomatic level working in this campaign, but it's been really a beautiful journey watching it evolve over the years. Okay, I'm gonna probably try to stay on for a couple minutes in case anyone has questions or anyone else wants to join. Thank you to everyone who has joined. I feel bad that I haven't been able to attend all the working group sessions because I just got through law school finals. So hoping to have a little calmer summer going forward. Yeah, thank you so much again to everyone who's joined. I hope this is informational. Again, not legal advice, but I think it is a very exciting campaign. It'll be really exciting to see country submissions coming into the ICJ this fall, and just something I would love for more people in the environmental movement to be aware of and kind of keep an eye on as it develops. So that I'm going to close the Zoom, but thank you again for everyone who's attended. My name is Robin Happel. I'm in the UNEP Major Group of Children and Youth chat. I think my email is also, I think other people have my email if you want to reach out to me. But yeah, thank you for everyone who's joined, and I hope this was educational.